Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on what time you're watching this video. It's me again, Teacher Kent. And today, well, we are going to review all about friction, all of its uses, and if it's advantageous or disadvantageous. Because we are near the end of our tests. I know of our topic. So it's about time I'm going to give another test. So are you ready? To be sure that all of you are ready for our test, I am going to review again all about friction. So without any further ado, let's start. Shall we? Okay, so let me just open my PowerPoint presentation about friction. Here we go. Let me just make myself a bit bigger. There you go. There. I think that is much better. Yes, I think that is much better. Let us start, shall we? Oh wait, why am I in air resistance? That's wrong. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me just give me a few seconds to adjust that because it started at the very first part and that's not what I wanted you guys to see. So again, let me share my PowerPoint presentation. Here you go. It's about friction, okay? Friction. But before we talk about friction, let's also talk about force. Remember what is force? Force is a push or a pull of an object. Okay? Force is when you push or pull an object. And friction, it is the opposite of force. Whenever you apply force to a certain object, a specific counter force will also be applied to you. What do I mean? Well, let's say that we have, let's say that you are playing football. But when you play football, you are not wearing any football shoes. You just kick the ball with your bare feet. Okay? You kick the ball with your bare feet. When you try and kick the ball very strong, you will also feel that your foot is hurting. Why is that? Because the amount of force that you applied on the football, it will be returned to you by the football too. Okay? Let's say you give 10 newtons. Okay? Force is measured in newtons. Okay? Force is measured in newtons, like your classmate whose nickname is Newton. So, when you kick a football, it has like 10 newtons force. Your feet will also receive 10 newtons worth of force. That means that every single force that you give, a counter force will be given to you. In this example, friction. It's the opposite of a force that happens when an object is trying to move around. Now, before we continue with friction, let's review. What can force do? Force can basically do 5 things, okay? Force can stop a moving object. If an object is moving, you can use force to stop it. Force can change the direction of a moving object. When there's an object is going towards you, you can kick it and it will change directions. Third, force can increase the speed of a moving object. For example, there's a ball and you kick the ball that is already moving, and you kick it again, it will make the ball go away or run away faster. It will increase the speed of the ball. It can also decrease the speed of a moving object. If I run and you try to push me back, my speed will become a little bit slower because of your force. It, with enough force too, it can change a moving object. It can change the shape. Like I have a piece of paper and I put some force into it. The piece of paper was once a rectangle. It will then become a circle because I use my force. And also another example is force can make an object in motion into move. So if there's a ball right in the middle of the floor, it's not moving, but if you apply force to it, it will move. That's it. That is our review of force. Now let's talk about friction. What is friction? Friction is a force between two surfaces that are sliding or trying to slide across one another. For example, when you try to push a toy car along the floor. If there's a toy car and you try to push it, the car is touching the ground, and that ground and the car's wheels will have friction. Friction always works in the direction opposite from the direction if the object is moving or trying to move. It always slows a moving object down. So, it always slows a moving object down. That is important to remember because when a car is moving, the friction will try to slow down a moving car. That is the purpose of friction, class. That's what friction does. It simply stops the object or slows down the movement of an object. Like for example, this kid is trying his best to ride his tricycle. A tricycle is like a bicycle with three wheels. So he's trying to move his tricycle forward, but the friction is also trying to bring back his tricycle to a stop. It's trying to make the tricycle stop. So let's continue. The amount of friction depends on the materials which the two surfaces are made, okay? The amount of friction depends on the surface, class. Surface, it's like what is the material made of. That is what the surface is. The rougher the surface, the more friction is produced. If a surface is very rough, it will have more friction. For example, you would have to push a book harder to get it sliding on a carpet than you would on a wooden floor, because the carpet, it has a lot more it has a lot more rough surface to it compared to a wooden floor. Or when you try to slide your book on your tiles of your home, we call that tiles, the floor, it will slide very fast because the tiles is very smooth. But if you try that on a football court, the football or the thing that you're trying to slide will not slide as far because the football court has a lot more friction. So, friction also produces heat. For example, if you rub your hands together quickly, they get warmer. So let's try that again. I will count to 15, okay? I will rub the two surfaces of my hand together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Now, I put this on my face and I can feel that my palms are hot when they touch my face. Or even if I don't touch my face, I can feel that my hands or my palms are starting to get hot. That is because friction produces heat. It makes objects feel, or it makes the object become hot. Now, there are two things that you should know about friction. It can be useful and not useful. We call them useful friction and reducing friction. Friction can be a useful force because it prevents our shoes slipping on the pavement when we walk and stops cars' tires skidding on the road. Friction is useful, especially if you have a car, because the car needs to be able to stop whenever the driver wants it to stop. It would be very dangerous if when you try to put on the brakes of a car, it will not put on the brake because the friction is no longer there. Do you understand? Let's say, for example, your car is moving at 20 kilometers per hour, and you try to brake it. When there is no friction, your car will stop after 20 kilometers, or maybe 15 kilometers or 10 kilometers. It will not stop when you want it to stop. However, because there is friction, when you put on the brakes, the car will slowly stop in a matter of few minutes or seconds. It will not move up to 1 kilometer. It will just move for a few meters before it stops. That is useful friction. Another example is when you walk. Yes, when you walk. Because in order for you to be able to walk, your feet must be able to stick to the ground. And how does that happen? You use friction between your feet and the surface of the ground. If there is nothing there, there is no friction, all of us will always be slipping because there is no friction. We cannot run anymore. We cannot hold things anymore. When I hold this cube, I cannot hold it. It will just fly, fly, fall, fly, slip because this cube has no friction. That is useful friction. Reducing friction is when it becomes too hot. And we know that hot or heat will slowly burn or create fire. And even without fire, if an object is very hot, it will slowly destroy that object. That is why our phones should not always be hot. When you play games on your phone, class, it becomes hot, if you notice that, right? That means the battery of your phone is slowly dying because it should not be always hot. Sometimes we want to reduce friction. For example, moving parts inside a car engine are lubricated with oil to reduce friction between them. The oil holds the surfaces apart and can stop the flow between them and can flow between them. The reduced friction means that there is less wear on the metal and less heat produced. If you notice, your dad sometimes brings their car to a shop that changes the oil. That is so that the engine of the car does not get overly heated and will explode or break down, because an engine will always become hot when it's starting. You need a proper oil so that the engine and other parts of the car will not be like will not be easily broken or worn down. Air resistance. Air resistance is a type of friction between air and another material. So air resistance, it's also another type of friction. If you notice why the airplanes have that shape, it's because scientists found out that this is the best shape they could make in order to fly with the least or the smallest air resistance. We cannot say that we don't need air resistance because in order for an airplane to fly, there must be air, there must be wind. wind that will bring the airplane up, at the same time, push it down. So we need to fly using air resistance. And that's it. That's our short review for friction. We still are not finished with our test, but don't worry. We will be finished this week. And if we finish early, we can play GeoGuessr. Okay, class? I will see you again next time. Bye!